court and all parties were issued with a forensic image of Form 34C had delivered and by email, my lords, my ladies. That was compliant, and it had a hash key, and it had a certificate of forensic evidence generated by Martin Nyaga. There is a certificate in court, my lords, my ladies, that the hash key was provided. So rather than move to generalization at a granular level, we can prove we fully complied with the orders on ICT. Now, I'll pick issues on the party interrogation into the system. And I want to pick issue 1, it's by George. The same George, I said, is an agent of Mr. Mugo and is proven by the registrar's report R2, the person under 13, for Madha Wangari Karua, George Joroge, and Musa Omondi. That is the George. He asks, wanted to know the user who logged in on 12 August 2022 at 001 hours. I will take you to R9. It's the registrar's report. I have not filed anything in reference to this, my lords, my ladies. And it shows there was no user. It's the registrar's report. I'm not going to give an interpretation. And I will say the comment under, by the registrar, a review of access any suspicious activity. The registrar was represented by an IT technical team. So it did not even request us to lobby the registrar, explain to the registrar. The IT team confirmed for itself. My lords, my ladies, they said there was suspicious activity between various dates. I'll take you to comment 4 by George Joroge. Agent wanted audit logs for user root during the election period. Logs were retrieved from 8th August to 29th August 2022, the day before the election and the day before we did the exercise. There was no suspicious activity. I would like the court to do a simple thing, my lords, my ladies. Compare the logs Mr. Mugo has provided and what is found in the registrar. You will discover there is an apparent discrepancy on the face of those logs. Nothing put on the slideshow is in the registrar's report because it's not. He may clarify where he got that, but he'll simply refer to the registrar's report. It's not, my lords, my ladies. Now, when you move on with the report, you get other clarification by other users. And I want to pick 3 that are quite pertinent. They say there was no way of ascertaining the date of the server log, and that was the opening comment. At page 22, comment 8 by Victor, agents wanted to know when Form 34C was uploaded. This was established to be 16th August 2022. How could have it been created on 31st August, but you are able to go back in history to 16th August to determine when Form 34C was uploaded? It's ridiculous on the face of it. My lords, my ladies, I'll take you to George again, page 23. The agent requested to see the whole architecture. The whole, not only RTS, not only KIMS, the entire IBC infrastructure, including everything retained in that server. IBC database admin presented the system architecture and explained the transmission flow. How can you say access was not granted when it was granted the entire architecture, not RTS? My lords, I notice my time is running, and my senior wanted to refer to the forever. I will stop here, but if given time, we can take the court through the entire report and answer every query raised satisfactorily, because it was done. Access was granted, that's why comments were made. If access was denied, there would have been no comment. Thank you, my lords, my ladies.
If it may please you, the Honorable the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and other distinguished members of the Supreme Court. My name is Emmanuel Wetangula. I'll be presenting our observations on behalf of IEBC with regard to the scrutiny and the recount that took place on the 31st and yesterday, my Lord. First and foremost, I'd like to thank members of the judiciary who took part in this exercise. It's the most tedious and laborious jobs, and not the most, and most people actually opted to run away. And even in the submissions before, which I'm about to make before the court today, it will be quite notable that none of my colleagues have addressed the pertinent issue all the results in the boxes matched the results that have been declared by IEBC and the results that were used to declare the president under Article 138.10. My Lord, I'll simply give one example. The application for scrutiny was given by the petitioners, and they identified the stations that they wanted. If this was to be a sample of the entire election, the report bears out the fact that out of the 45 polling stations that were counted, there was no variance of results in the 40 stations, 40 of the polling stations. The report clearly shows that there is no variance of the results with that which was contained in Form 34A. But most importantly, my lady and my lords, there were slight errors which will arise, and it always arises in every election. It's typical to human error. And even to point out this fact, my lord, I was reading the report that was prepared by the Honorable Deputy Registrar. It also has a slight error. And that error was corrected today when we were sent an addendum correcting a mistake that had been done. Number two, my lady and my lords, at page 31, you will note that there's a slight typographical error regarding the date of the election. It's indicated as 8th August 2017. A normal error that any human being will make. But if it were the petitioners, I'm sure they will pray that the entire report be disregarded. But my lord, the most important thing is the environment under which elections take place is a very tense situation. And many a times, slight mistakes will occur. For instance, the sealing of documents, the misplacement of one or two things. The only complaint I've had my learned colleagues, Mr. Awele complain about, Ms. Mboshe, and Mr. Willis Otieno. It's about material not being placed in envelopes. But of utmost importance is having been present with every ballot that was counted, it tallies with what was given to each of the candidates. But most importantly, the allegation the petitioners have made and have been running around with is that election results were being taken from one candidate and being added to another. That fact was not proven. This is their case. And if at all there was any variance in the results, I believe Mr. Willis Otieno will have sung for us a new song today, but he didn't. And that confirms that actually the results are believable. And my lords, these are the results that were transmitted through the results transmission system, first and foremost, having been final. Secondly, these were the results that were physically delivered by the returning officers to the tallying center at Bomas. And my lord, if the registrar confirms that from the boxes that the court has sampled, there's absolutely no variance, then we wonder what the complaint is. The slight variances that, or slight mistakes that were noted, which I will just highlight one of them, that one of the parties picked up on. This is number 38 on the list of the polling stations, Kiheo Primary School. One of my colleagues for the petitioners made reference to it. Despite the absence of the counterfoils, but each of the ballots present matched with the result that was declared for each of the candidates. I wonder how accurate an election can get if this is not it. But mistakes will always happen. And even in the report that is before us, we have noted that actually mistakes actually do happen, and they happen all the time. There was something else that the parties were supposed to deliver, that is IEBC, which was Forms 34A. My Lord, a sufficient volume was delivered to the court. I'll just confirm how many there were. There are 32 volumes of Form 32As which have been availed to the court. My Lord, there's also the error form, 3 volumes which have been availed to the court for scrutiny, signed by the chair. These are the errors that were noted during the verification and tallying. And lastly, my lady and my lords, before the time runs out, Book 2 of Form 34A. Some of it was found in the ballot boxes during the scrutiny, but some of the boxes did not contain, and it's borne out in the report. But the purpose of printing this booklet is actually known to all the players. My lady, my time has run out. I'll just request for 2 minutes to finalize my points, and I'll be done. Thank you. My lady, with regard to Form 34A, Book 2, the purpose why an extra copy was printed, and it's known to the petitioners, but they will not tell this honorable court, was that at any time sufficient copies of the forms will be available to the agents, candidates, and the media. This is to ensure that the results that were being declared at the polling stations being final were transparent and known to everybody. But a contest arose and a decision was made by the chairman of IEBC that this material was to be sealed and placed in the ballot boxes. As it will happen, in some of the boxes, and the report will bear it out, some of the forms are not there. And even the report will bear it out that some of the presiding officers made mistakes in Book 1. They cancelled it and utilized Book 2, but still the result did not change. What is important and material is from the scrutiny that was undertaken until very early hours of yesterday morning, the result matches what is contained in Form 34A. And my lords, those Form 34As have been availed to the court pursuant to the rules of the Supreme Court, and they are the forms that were used to declare the results of the election upon the completion of the exercise. Similarly, these are the same forms that were transmitted through the results transmission system, and they match each and every other form that was given. Lastly, and very lastly, there was in one station in Kakamega where the Form 32As were not availed, and affidavits to that effect have been given, and the reason is that because of an outbreak of violence, the affidavits will bear it out. With those few remarks, my lady and my lords, Professor Mugai is asking for a donation of the time, but it has run out. Thank you very much.
Lady, without appearing to interrupt the court's proceedings, with that kind permission, my learned friend has made reference to an affidavit that was given. You've never been supplied with that affidavit. We don't even know about it. And I don't think it is proper for evidence of such a nature to be brought to court at this critical point. And I wish the court should ignore it.
I don't think we are aware of it because we closed the filing of proceedings in this matter.
Very kindly request you to allow me to place on record that we reserve our right to object to that document filed by my learned friends. First, because it was filed without leave. Secondly, because no other party has had the opportunity to do the same. Thirdly, because from what we hear now, it may very well contain falsified documents.
Yes, have we had submissions from the 9 respondents, but now in the... Yes.
Madam Chief Justice will be making a formal application for the document tendered by Learned Counsel Mr. Mulgo to be expunged from the record. But first things first, we shall respond pursuant to the order issued by the court. We were to orally respond,
Yes.
not to use that opportunity for other filings. On our part, 2 of my colleagues will make the oral submissions. Please, that was not within the... Please allow us the 15 minutes. We hadn't started making the submissions.
If it pleases the court, my name is Omwanza Ombati. I'm going to present the first part of or the comments about the scrutiny report, and the second part will be presented by my learned friend, Senator Hilary Sigei. My lords, it's important to first appreciate that the purpose of scrutiny is an exercise that is meant for the court to have an impression of how the exercise of the election was conducted. And that's what you said in 2013, Raila. And secondly, also it's important to note that part of the process of scrutiny is to audit the election and make sure that the numbers are backed up by the paper trail. In the request for scrutiny that was done by the petitioners, my Lord, Chief Justice and members of the Supreme Court, the request was targeted. You'll find that particularly in petition number 5, and also the affidavit of Arnold Oginga, paras 81 to 91. That is where the scrutiny was ordered, and when you retire to consider this matter, my lords, I request that you restrict them to their case. Now, in terms of the orders that was given by this court, you'd find that there are 7 orders. I'll deal with order number 1 to 4. The first one was with respect to an order that IBC should provide the applicants with copies of the technology system and security policy. This was complied with, except that the applicants also wanted the names, specific names of the system administrators. My Lord, this would not be possible because then you would expose system administrators to danger. The second order is with respect to a supervision of the servers, to have access to the servers of the National Tallying Center, to demonstrate how Form 34C was dealt with. The forensic image of the 34C was granted, and all parties were also given time to interact with this server the whole day. Now, the third and more important, part of that order also was to see whether there was any deletion of any Form 34A at the server. You'll find that at page 21 of the registrar's report. There was no deletion. There is not a single deletion of a Form 34A from the server. And my Lord, Justice Lenola asked a question on how was it that JPEGs were converted from JPEG to a PDF. My Lord, that answer is found at the registrar's report at page 12, and it's important that we read this. It's a short page because a lot of issues have been raised about this. You'll see whereby it says that the Form 34A, you'll find this at page 12 of the registrar's report, that the Form 34A would be scanned by the KIMS kit into a PDF, which was then transmitted into the storage server. At the storage server, the form is processed by an application to check for compliance, to certify that the security features have been complied with, and the PDF has all the features that are supposed to be there. That goes also to page 13. This is important because, my Lord, there was a theory of the middleman that was being propagated by one of the petitioners, and in this scrutiny we could not find any middleman. In fact, there was a direct link from where the results were transmitted. So the transmission was from the KIMS kit. It would go to the National Tallying Center. One form would go to the National Tallying Center. The second form would go to the constituency Tallying Center. And the third form would go to the portal And in this path, results path, there was no middleman. That was the smoking gun that was used by the petitioner, and my lord, unfortunately, there was no smoke, and there was nothing that would find that was found in that. It's important, my lord, to demonstrate to this court that in the scrutiny, there was first compliance by IEBC about, in terms of the orders of this court, order 1 to 7, as far as was practicable. And number 2 is that in the case theory that was presented to this court completely collapsed. We are all aware, and we saw it, that the petitioner brought a case that was packed in a truckload. However, when that was subjected to scrutiny, it collapsed like a house of cards. So, my lord, the scrutiny has demonstrated that this election was conducted in substantial compliance with the law. If there are variations, they are minor and they do not materially affect the result. And we submit that this court should validate the win of the first and second respondent in terms of Article 140 of the Constitution. I would conclude and say that from what we've heard, my lord, it's important probably to, for those of us who didn't go to the schools that my friend Ayatollah went to, if you read the book of Macbeth, the play of Macbeth, the second play, you'd see that there's a debate. There's a debate about the devil and conscience. I think in one of the last acts, about a servant who's known as Lancelot. And this servant has this big debate on what is it that, he has the devil that is pushing on him and also his conscience. And he concludes that he would rather go, in fact, I quoted this because it's very interesting. He says that my conscience is hanging by my neck, the neck of my heart, and in my conscience is a hard conscience. However, the devil gives me a more friendly counsel, but I choose to run from that friendly counsel. My lord, with those few remarks, I will request that my learned friend, Senator Hilary Sigei, can continue.
The Honorable Chief Justice, the Honorable Deputy Chief Justice, and the judges of the Supreme Court. My name is Hilary Sigei. My remit in submitting on the basis of the report is limited to the numbers. And my lords, I would dare say, fiction is best told in abstract. My learned colleagues for the petition have taken you through what they called a product of scrutiny. They have intentionally left out what is also equally important besides the process, and that is the numbers. I associate myself largely with the submissions by my learned friend, Mr. Wetangula, particularly with regards to the numbers and the 45 polling stations, which was a subject of inquiry in the orders for scrutiny. Given, my lords, that the election process in Kenya is a process that we are conducting 6 elections in one day, it is natural that errors, especially in counting, tabulation, are bound to occur. But far from that, when the 45 polling stations that this honorable court directed that are conduct of scrutiny be done, the recount confirmed that there was correct vote count in 45 polling stations. It also confirmed that all the data that was entered, including, for example, the rejected votes, reflected that which was in the ballot and that which was in the image. It also confirmed that the Form 34As were not altered as it has been submitted before you. I therefore do submit that there are no irregularities in terms of the votes cast against each of the candidates in this particular petition. There was also no transposition the way they had placed that votes from candidate A was taken away and given to candidate B. That product of scrutiny has confirmed that. To be very specific, in Mombasa County, Mvita, polling station 1 of 7, all of them had no variances at all. And in the fullness of time, this Honorable Court, I believe, will spare a moment to look at pages 36 to 49 of the report from the registrar. Majengo, 2 polling stations, no variance, that is page 50 to 57. Mikindani, polling station 1 to 9, no variances were detected at all. In Kericho County, Chepkutung polling station 1 to 3, no discrepancies were found. In essence, what I'm trying to submit, my lordship, is that the numbers complied in terms of what each candidate had been given as at the time of the tabulation at the polling station and what has been provided and availed before you. I am aware that the 32 volumes of Form 34As are placed already before you. Elections and the will of the people is deposed in the polling station as per the minor Kiai case. I urge you, your lordships and my lady, to indeed look at the 32 volumes of Form 34As placed before you. Do a comparison with the 45 which we have submitted, and a report has been placed before you that numbers did not change. If they could not impeach on the 45 polling stations that they pleaded, they cannot impeach on the rest that are available before you. When we look at the other stations they have talked about, Nyandarua, Kiheho, my learned colleague, Mr. Njomo, indeed confirmed that materials were all there in the ballot boxes which were opened. His concern was that they were not placed in tamper-proof envelopes. He's also confirmed that the numbers in those polling stations are there. Those were the submissions by Mr. Njomo on behalf of the petitioners. As regards Oljororok, where he quoted that there were no seals placed, when you look at the report of the registrar in that particular polling station, appearing at page 141 to 171, no polling station had variances in terms of the numbers that were awarded to either the petitioner or my client. In short, my lady, my lordship, I submit that there is no evidence that has been placed before you to impeach the Forms 34A, which are already before you and which are in the portal, and which actually is where the vote from the voter where the voter is expressing their choice of the candidate whom they would want to place in the executive office was done. No wonder Kenya has moved on. I want to beseech this honorable court to allow that which the people of Kenya made as a choice on the 9th and they declared on the 15th to be the choice of the leadership they would want to lead this country for the next 5 years. I am a product of that particular election. The Honorable Madam Chief Justice, allow me 1 minute to close. Thank you. I wanted yesterday while Malanet Senior, the Honorable Attorney General Emeritus, invited you to ask the Honorable James Orengo and Professor Tom Agenda, I would invite myself to answer that. I am a product of that election that was conducted, and I am aware that if one is clear, the rest will be clear, as we have attempted and have indeed proved in the submissions that are before you. I request and I plead that this Honorable Court upheld the declaration that was made on the 15th of August 2022 of the presidential elections. I thank you for the time, and thank you. I will donate the remaining 13 seconds to the court. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Council, and I think we congratulate all of you who have been elected to the new office and wish you well.
For you, I am mandated by my colleagues, and I hope on this one I also speak for my very dear and distinguished friends on this side.
We haven't finished. We haven't finished.
We haven't finished.
Oh, you haven't?
Yes.
Sorry, I wanted.
Yes. Sorry, we wanted to say that we cannot accept these documents, unfortunately, because we had closed the filing and we had indicated that we will take all submissions on the report by the registrar. So the application to expunge them, I think it's around, they were not even filed, they were not accepted, our system did not accept them. I think there is one clarification also from the bench. Justice Venaura?
Yes, thank you, President. Mr. Murgor, let's go to R10. R10 is users who logged in recently. On this registrar's report, you projected it. So the one which has the Vito, Gudino, Vito, Provisio, Silva, Ogudino, do you have it?
You would like me to refer to my report?
It's a document. I'm looking at this registrar's report, so if you have it on yours is blank, I'm sure, if you noticed. Yes, that one, yeah. Yes, so go to, not that one. Page, it doesn't have pages, but it's an extra R10. It was the foreigners' logs. Mine doesn't have pages.
I don't have it.
It just reads R10. Anyway.
Yes.
R10 is titled Users Who Logged In Recently. Do you remember that? You projected it here.
We projected it, yes.
Yes, so Vito logged in on July 28th. That's my question. I want to see whether we're on the same wavelength as to the dates. Because you said they logged in during the tally. Does someone have a copy of the report?
We can share a copy.
You can use this. Please share a copy. Take this.
This is
share this.
R10. And to save on time, Mr. Ngarisha, you can be looking at R12 yourself.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
So, Mr. Murgor, you said in, if I... R10.
Why don't I have this? Okay. Yes.
Yes, so R10 Please read for us the dates that these people logged in and the time.
The R10,
yes.
I have the logs start from July 20th to July 28th.
Exactly.
Yes.
So did I hear you saying that they logged in during the tallying period?
That's what I had in my document that I filed.
We are looking at the registrar's report. So how different is your document from this one?
I will check because what we have has those logs.
Remember, we are working with the registrar's report, not any other document. That's why I was getting confused.
This is probably the reason why we filed our own document, because you have extracted, or the registrar has extracted this part, we have extracted the entire. So we could look at what we have.
Yes.
I'll speak to the IT people and clarify that.
But
our logs start from July
But
to
for the registrar's
August.
report, it's July 20th to July 28th.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that. That was before the election, therefore.
That was before the election.
Thank you. That's all I wanted from you. Mr. Ngarisha, let's go to R12. I would have expected you, as you come, to answer Mr. Murgro's concern, which was that R12 is a history of delete and removal actions. Mr. Murgro's concern was activity, and you look at the dates, it is 6th of August at the bottom, and then a lot of activity happened on the 31st of August. I would have expected you to say these deletions and removals relate to this action. Mr. Murgor is saying, following the, and now I think we can disconnect R10 from R12, but I'm concerned about R12. What activities were these? What was being deleted? What was being removed? So that you can get Mr. Murgor's point, which is quite of interest to me. I thank you.
My Lord, far be it from me to correct the court. R12 is a series of command that was firstly executed by the IBC database manager. I refrain from mentioning her name. She has her own security concerns, but her name appears on the record. Then, that is, I would say, if you look at the page, from 58 to 72 on your left, that is the command running. If you look at R12 on your left, my Lord, there is 58, 59 running. That's the command running, showing there was no deletion. If it was put on the screen in color, you will see what then we did once we realized there was no deletion. Mr. George had a specific command, which he said you can delete or remove from a server. Like in a computer, you can either press the delete key or you can press shift delete. So you can either delete or remove permanently from the server. That command was executed. And my Lord, be it far from me to comment on this. The registrar at page 21, James, Khalifa agent wanted to know if a root user has deleted or removed any file from the server. No records of file deletion or removals were discovered. I could interpret the code where you have 72, it shows the library Docker. You have a server which has various compartments called containers. These containers connect to the server by what we call a Docker. It's just an interface for exchanging the communication. It just is up to there. It cannot find any deletion. Then they executed a graphing. Graphing is where you limit the search range. Maybe you wanted to go to the registry and ask how many matters were filed in June. If you ask the registrar how many matters have been filed, you will maybe start from January to August. But if you ask what files were filed in June, that is the graphing. And that's why you see when you read it, it has a graph. Graph, it's not GREP space rem at root after number 72. There is root, application runs. It looks at the log history. Let me, if you will indulge me, let me explain it, my Lord. After 72, the root application, which is in that specific container, runs the log history, then it's graphed for remove. Is there any history of removal? There is none. Mr. George then requests, let's check for delete.
That is all I wanted to hear. If you say there's no deletion, that's it. I think we understand what the point is.
And my Lord, for R10,
yes,
I could clarify if you'll indulge me.
Go ahead.
If you look at the entire logs, there's what you call an IP address. There's a public IP, and there's an internal IP. The judiciary has its own Wi-Fi that it runs within the court. It has an internal network. Then there's the World Wide Web, where everything that everybody can see. All those IP addresses, compare with all the IP addresses in the entire report by the registrar. They are internal IP addresses when IBC was being supported. The same way, if you had an issue with your laptop, you'll take to the judiciary technician. They were being supported because they purchased the software and they needed routine maintenance. And my lord, before you say this is my own assertion, I will take you back to the registrar's report, whereby they searched between August, the entire month of May to August, for any deletion, removal, there was none. Then they searched for the entire August, whether those users accessed. The answer was none. I will adopt this report in entirety. See, for maybe a few comments I would have, but that's bickering over the minute time, my lord.
Thank you very much.
Much obliged.
Thank you, CJ.
My lord, just a quick one. The page you refer to as R10 appears to look very similar to this page 16 that I had provided. All I'm saying is that relates to dates in July, and what we received from IBC contains logs up to the 31st of August. But the two last entries in August 31st and 24th are attributed to Root, who we believe is one of the same gentlemen. But the one I referred to today was August 16th. So it's just a question of how long the log was. Check again on your side. And then finally, on the issue of the deletion, our position is that there was obvious deletion, and what we found there was empty, recently modified file, and certainly not a server that could hold the entire election in the Republic of Kenya.
Thank you very much.
I want the record to show, with your very kind permission and the concurrence of all my distinguished friends, learned friends, particularly those to my right, who have accorded me the honor of making this speech on their behalf. We thank you most sincerely for all the time and effort that you have put, and your patience, and putting up with some of our not very honorable conduct. We apologize for that, and we wish you good deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Counsel Professor Gideon Muigai, Attorney General Emeritus. From this end, and before our team leader speaks, we want to thank you for your assistance to us in the last 3 days. We want to say that if there was bad manners, we didn't see it. These things happen, and there really wasn't bad manners. We thank you for working within the very strict timelines that we gave you. Now, if you felt pressed for time, blame yourselves, because you gave us 14 days to do what ought to be done in a year, if you ask us. And while you take a break today, we continue working. We thank you, truly thank you on behalf of the team and before the team leader speaks. What you didn't know, but you may have realized, is that every day there was a marshal or a prefect from this end to ensure that you kept to your lanes. If you didn't notice, today I was the marshal. The day you laughed most, Dr. Wanjala was the marshal. That's how we work here. We work as a team. We divide roles here so that we don't all speak at the same time. And here, Unlike things we have heard you say today, we consider ourselves equal. None of us has a veto power, but of course we have a team leader. We thank you very much. Pray for us as we undertake the next phase. It's actually not the more difficult one. You have helped us with the more difficult part, but it is intense, for which reason, therefore, we ask you that you pray to whatever God you pray to, that God will assist us to continue in the spirit we've been in for the last 1 year, and that we shall have a very high sense of discernment, and that we shall return to Kenya a judgment not less than what Kenya expects. Thank you very much, and now I ask that the team leader speaks to us.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Vice President of the Court, and for being a very, very effective marshal for today. Allow me to thank my brother and sister judges. We actually call it shared leadership in the judiciary. We take up all this responsibility together, and I'm most grateful for that. Thank you, Senior Counsel Professor Gebu Moigai, for those very kind words. All we saw, like the DCJ is saying, is very, very robust arguments and participation. We did not record any bad behavior. Like you see, we did not cite anybody for contempt. So we are very, very most grateful for your cooperation. Allow me also to thank the other people who worked with us round the clock. A team led by the Registrar of the Court, Honorable Letitia Washira, and the Deputy Registrars, our law clerks who have been supporting us, all the registry staff, the executive officers, and the court assistants. We also want to recognize the role played by our security, our police unit, and all the police officers and security people who have provided us with security round the clock to make sure that these proceedings move on smoothly. I may not be able to mention everybody, but also to say that anybody who did something to make these proceedings move smoothly, we are grateful to them. We also want to thank the international and local observers who came to observe these proceedings. We are grateful for your encouragement, and we continue to ask, like the Vice President has said, that you continue to pray for us so that we can render judgment that promotes our constitution, that is anchored in the law, that nurtures our democracy, that brings harmony to our country, and everything good that is stated in our constitution. So with those remarks, I will wish you a very nice evening, and as we retire ourselves to continue working. Thank you very much. I'm told that we will deliver our judgment on Monday the 5th. We shall give you notice closer to that day. I don't know, we have only tomorrow and Sunday. But we'll give you notice indicating the exact time when that will be done. It will definitely be on Monday. But I'm reminded that Monday lands up to midnight. So you'll be given the time indication in the notice. Thank you very much. Have a very nice weekend and nice evening.